you used to be one of the biggest bulls on Tesla, but now you have a hold rating. So is that a commentary on Tesla, or is that a short-term pause period for as this thesis plays out?
We think it's a pause for breath.
Record high today, by the way, I should say.
Okay, yeah, we're believers in the Tesla story, and we think that Tesla is much more than just a car company. They're building out infrastructure for both sustainable transport and energy. And they're spending like $4 or $5 billion a year. That is not all going to cars, folks. Okay, that is going to something much, much bigger. But the downgrade to equal weight was mainly a recognition that if you're going to apply AI and artificial intelligence in real-world applications like driving, and HD mapping and machine learning and computer vision and all the data and the kind of that ecosystem, you're going to attract competitive pressure from the Amazons, the Apples, and the Alphabets of the world. So that was kind of we think, a wake-up call to Tesla investors to say, hey, if you want to own an AI juggernaut, that's cool, but you're going to have some competition from folks with almost unlimited access to capital and talent.
Adam, help me understand how Tesla can be valued at $55 billion and GM is at $50 billion when the revenue streams are so radically different, when the autos sold are so radically different.
Right. So if you limited the analysis to just the market today and the 100-year-old business model that Henry Ford corrected, you'd be really hard-pressed to justify Tesla's valuation exceeding, let's say, a Ford Motor Company.
Yeah.
But if I asked the question differently and told an investor, hey, if I could give Elon Musk $20 billion to invest for 10 years, or I could give this new CEO of Ford Motor Company $20 billion to invest over the next 10 or 20 years, who's going to create more value? Think about that question, and you might have a different answer. So it's where things are going. The entire business model is changing. The type of talent, this software component in the car, and from that perspective, the market is just dying to have something different, and that's what it's speaking to. That's why Tesla's valuation is what it is.
So let me take your question and put it a little differently. Do I give that $20 billion to somebody in Silicon Valley or somebody in Detroit? Do I give it to somebody in Detroit or somebody in Beijing or in Shanghai?
So we published a list of what we call the Shared Autonomous 30. We asked 14 sector analysts across the sector stack at Morgan Stanley in the US, with some market cap limitations as well and minimum thresholds. What are the best positioned names in your coverage universe for shared, electric, and autonomous transport? And we came up with some names that maybe doesn't surprise you, like Alphabet and Amazon and Apple, and some names that might surprise you, like Domino's Pizza, covered by John Glass, or Constellation Brands, covered by Dara Mohsenian. We think the value in this model is not the mile traveled so much. The incremental cost of transportation is approaching zero, okay? Zero. The value is, what do you get out of that mile? The data and the content opportunity. That's what can be monetized, and it's a multi-trillion-dollar market.
Did Ford or GM or Chrysler come up in that list at all?
We did not have any traditional car makers on that list. Tesla Motors was the only automaker on that list. And again, if I can put it a different way, answer your question in a different way, the traditional automakers are in the business of selling unconnected cars to human drivers propelled by internal combustion. They sell things, and that market is $1.5 trillion. The business that the Silicon Valley and Tesla is approaching, they're approaching transportation of miles traveled times $1 per mile. It's a $10 trillion market. It's like 7 times the size as the market addressed by the OEMs.
Do you see anyone out of the traditional players making that shift in the appropriate way? Ford, the board, clearly didn't think the previous CEO was doing that well. Do you see anyone that's doing it well?
We see, it's too soon to say that anyone's doing it well amongst the traditionals, if we're being honest. But we believe but don't count them out yet. Every single board of every major auto company is, I don't want to say panic, but has very high level of awareness. We think in their current forms, the average OEM with the culture and the type of legal structure they have and the dependency on the innovator's dilemma of the old system will be very, very difficult to attract the right human brains to those organizations. So what we propose, we throw out there for discussion in the market, is they might need to radically change the structure. It could be spin-offs, it could be partnerships, consortiums, thinking radically about the legal structure of the company in order to get around that innovator's dilemma.
If Uber was public, would it be on your list?
No comment on that. Can't touch that.
But the idea is there another way to play, and that's the ride sharing and how that dynamic plays out? Again,
I'll agree with Stephen Ratner. Again, we think ride sharing is actually more disruptive fundamentally to the business model than either electrification or autonomous. In fact, we think autonomy is just a tool. You don't need autonomy for ride sharing, but autonomy can make ride sharing 10 or 20 cents per mile instead of $1.50 a mile. So the model is right, but the question, I won't mention the company you said specifically, but if you're a pure ride-sharing firm, the thing you need to ask is, right now we're a network of human drivers. What are we a network of when the human goes away? We're a network of someone else's car, where the car itself is the driver. And so that's why the CEOs of all the ride-sharing firms are saying, we need to get this autonomous stuff right in order to protect our longevity.